podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the Black Cinema Experience
Podcast.
I'm your girl, JB.
And I'm Cameron.
And this week, we're back with another exciting feature film. We watched The Supremes on HULU. It has a all-star cast. Cameron, tell us who you loved, who you saw in this film.
Well, we have somebody who I truly adore, Anjanou Ellis.
Okay, one of our favorites.
One of our favorites. We also have Uzo Adobo. I don't know why I said Adobo. I know it's Uzumaki. That's what we also have Sanaa Lathan.
Okay.
Some really great actors: Russell Hornsby, Mekhi Phifer. So
yeah,
all-star cast.
All-star cast. Now this is a very Black film. Now one thing I will say, as a girl, when I saw the title, The Supremes, I immediately thought The Supremes. I thought to myself, to be honest with you, because I wasn't I wasn't in a rush to see this film, but my friends were seeing it and they were like, "You gotta watch The Supremes. You gotta watch The Supremes." I thought it was going to be another remake of another group from back in the day, and then we'd have to trail their stories of being mistreated and abused in the industry, etc. And I was so happy to see that this story had nothing to do with anything like that.
At all.
Cameron, you said it earlier, but tell me what this film reminds you of in modern days. Like, what movie does this make you feel connected to?
Well, it gives you like those very like sentimental, nostalgic vibes, but for me, it would be like a Still Magnolias for me.
Yeah.
There's some adversity. There's a lot of drama, and I think it unfolds very well. We'll discuss that later. But I feel like we get to really see these characters grow, and obviously it goes back and forth between adolescents, like them as teenagers and them as adults, and their journey, but their friendship all together, and then seeing strong women friendships. I think it's something that's very positive for Black women and just Black people in general to see.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the Still Magnolias reference I think is kind of sweet. I feel like Still Magnolias has a lot more intimate moments with the characters. I feel like this movie was more so running to the end, but I'm okay with it. I wasn't mad at it. They gave us just enough of everybody's storyline for us to care. I really enjoyed, that this film was about female friendship dynamics, like how things begin and what type of curses that Black women are born into and what type of adversaries that they overcome. So I really, thought that was a really cool concept. Now, one thing I thought was interesting is Anjanou's young character. She was super, sassy. She was ready to fight. She was very in your face. How did this character, how did you feel about this type of character, like this archetype? Like, I'm curious about it for a lot of reasons, because I see how they did back in the day with that character archetype. Like, she still got a man. You know what I mean? Because you picture her in 2024. You know what I mean? Like, what is your thoughts about this character in a film?
Well, like usually, like making a Black woman aggressive or making them seem angry is like a negative stereotype. But I feel like that wasn't portrayed in this movie. I feel like the character was very high strong because she was confident. It was more of a confidence, not necessarily like a bully or angry person. She was, the whole point of her character was being fearless, so she was essentially fearless in everything she did. So whether it was confronting people or confronting her friends or showing up for her friends, she was able to do that. And I know, like, we talked about like that whole strong narrative, like, oh, Black women have to be strong. But again, I feel like this was done in a beautiful way because she also had her lover who she got, a little not embarrassed, but she like pulled him to the side and was like kind of like let her emotions like fall and was like, why are you acting like this towards me? I thought you liked me and stuff, I thought that was so
and
cute
he was
because
like, yeah, you bullied my bully. I do like you.
Exactly. Well,
you gonna keep me safe, girl.
He was saying you stood up for me, but that was the thing because throughout the movie you see, and spoiler alert, but like spoiler alert, like one of the things that I feel like feminizes her, if you want to use that term, that she sits on his lap. And she references that throughout the movie about like him being actually her safe space, and like even though she's so strong, she has somebody she can come and curl up and be very soft and be vulnerable with.
Yeah.
So I did like that. So it wasn't like the traditional like, oh, I'm a strong Black woman, I don't need nobody, I don't need no man, I don't need this man. Like, no, she was strong and she still needed her man, and her man needed her, and it was nice.
I didn't know you was gonna say that. Yeah, no, I like what you said. Actually, I was like, she's super brassy. If we were to deal with this personality type in 2024, she'd be alone, or she'd be, a rapper,
No.
a female rapper. She would be like, a very hard one. But I just thought that seeing that personality type was it was cute and interesting. She would be like, fast forward, her at 60 would be like the big mama that everyone's scared of, and big mama knows how to take care of the kids and do all those things. That's that attitude. It's like, get in this house. Like, she mean, but she loving. It's like a loving undertone to it. So I just thought her personality type was interesting. And at first I was like, she's doing a lot, but the girl that played the young her was acting her butt off.
Yeah.
She was really like just very convincible. She was just very in the moment. Like acting requires a certain level of skill. When people say bad actor versus good actor, there's a lot of things that go into that, like how present they are in the moment, how them as a human being actually enhance the moment. And I feel like as an actress, she was just very present in her character, that she was doing the body movements and the language, like everything really spoke to, I'm a brassy, fearless young girl. So I really enjoyed that about her acting, the young one and the grown up Anjanae. So.
Well, I feel like all the girls did a really good job too. Well, I feel like the movie did a pretty good job of like putting us in the periods, like, because it goes from like the 60s all the way to present day.
Yeah.
So like seeing these women in different eras of their life is always kind of hard to depict. And again, I feel like that's always hard in movies in general to just like, see people grow like this. But I think they did a very good job. And again, even though, the main character, her character was strong, I feel like all the characters though had a sense of like strength. Like it wasn't like yeah, you could tell she was the main character of the movie, quote unquote, but I feel like they all kind of held their own, so it kind of balanced out. Like I feel like even though like they all had their moments where they were like, like to be insecure or like they felt like they needed the other friends, I feel like it was a moment that each woman had to rely on their friends. It wasn't just like one person like always strong or always the savior.
Yeah, they definitely were embodying the sisterhood. But I will say that Uzo's character as well as Sanaa Lathan's character were both really late to the party as far as standing up for themselves. The only one that really did a good job standing up for herself was the one that wasn't getting played but was going through her terminal illness. You know what I mean? Like, she was the only one that wasn't getting ran over by her man or other people in her life. So like, that's interesting. Like they had each other, they got to go to the anniversaries together, but they were being run down.
Well, that's life.
Yeah, no, it's life, but Barbara Jean's character, to speak on her younger self, her younger self was played by Tati Gabrielle, who is an amazing actress. I've seen her in tons of things where I'm completely enveloped in her as a character.
Yeah.
And for this film, Cameron, how did you feel about her?
I feel like it was just some choices.
Yeah.
That I was like, I don't necessarily.
And it feels like a choice. It feels like the choices could have been done differently, I understand what they were doing. They were making her voice softer to make her meek and more timid. But it just gave off a mousy type of thing. It wasn't giving shy. It was just giving like, I don't know why I talk
like this Betty Boop type weird.
As if that's how
accent.
all women spoke at the time. And I do know that different periods of times required a different level of like femininity, a different expectation of the women.
True.
But that was very frustrating, I think, to watch, because I'm sure that actress could have been trusted to handle that character's timidness without having to use the fake soft, Powerpuff Girl type voice. I wasn't a huge fan of that. But,
I 100% agree. And then also, again, like, great actors, I just feel like, sometimes.
And she's really spectacular.
Yeah.
Like I've seen her in a lot of things, and I've been like, I've seen her in enough stuff where I actually cried watching her. Yeah. There's a show I was trying to find, but she was battling with food disorders. She was anorexic.
Okay.
She was anorexic, so she was sick. So she kept going to rehab and coming back, and her friends were like worried about her because she would like not eat, and she was like getting skinny and all that stuff. So she went to rehab multiple times. So, but in that show though, I cried like almost every episode. I was like, oh my God, this is too good. Because she was in it.
No, she's good. Well, I was going to say, because you see her in You, like her from the last seasons, and also Uncharted, when she was actually a really good villain against, Tom Holland. So
Yeah,
she's obviously she's like
she has a big range.
she has a really huge range. So
she has a big range. This wasn't the best.
Yeah, but again, I feel like she did it justice. I guess
Yeah.
you can say. But other than that, I feel like again,
but I think that she performed up to her direction.
Yeah, and that could be the director's choice too, because sometimes you have to do what your director's telling you, and it's like
Exactly.
But how'd you feel about the overall plot? I feel like again, because I'm not trying to compare it to Still Magnolias. I'm saying like that whole Still Magnolias-esque like type of film, like seeing women grow through their friendship and overcoming adversity. How do you feel like they portrayed it? And do you feel like there was like any stereotypical like this is how black people have this is what black people have to go through? Because they talk about race low key, high key in this movie. So how do you feel about that aspect?
I feel like their friend circle was, like a normal friend circle. They had their ups and downs and whatnot. But I don't feel like it was flawed enough, like they all did the right thing, what they were supposed to do, like when I say that, I mean like, so Anjane's character, Barbara Jean's baby daddy chick, she met up with him as a grown up and they're talking and she's like, it's not the right time for Barbara Jean. If that was my best friend and I found out that you saw the love of my life, the person whose child I had, person who I was in love with, if I found out you saw him on a bridge one day and then you knew where he was working and then you share it with me like on your deathbed, you ain't about to die yet, girl, because I'm about to cuss you out. Because how long have you known this?
And they tell me make it right. You gotta make it right before I go. What?
My next question is, when did you see Chick? Where was it? And why didn't you call me? So you met up with him and you couldn't let me know? And when did you and Chick get so close again? Because me and him had a child and then I left and then, so he's your best friend or something? Like, exactly explain that relationship to me. That didn't make sense to me. They like, as a story is done, they did a great job tying in all the loose ends, making Anjane's character even more vital to the story because she had these deep connections with everybody. But in the real world, if my friend would have saw my ex-man and not told me, we're going to have more, you're not dying today because I'm going to fight you first.
Right, I'm snatching you back up. We're about to make sure we get some life in you.
Go to the afterlife. I'm going to catch that spirit on the way out. Hold up. You ain't going nowhere.
No, but I feel like it was obviously for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
But I think like they did a really good job of like bringing that whole, like you said, tying up the loose ends and bringing, the story together. Because again, we were confused like where they're going to get together, where they're not going to get back together. And again, also this is referring to an interracial couple in this show. So I feel like, and it's starting out in the 60s. I feel like that was a pretty I feel like for me they could have made just a little bit more of a big deal, I guess. I feel like in the movie they kind of just like brushed over a little bit, like you said, like
they were moving at hyperspeed trying to get to the end. They was running to the end. They were like, we started the movie, there was a tree. We're gonna end the movie under a tree. It was like, oh man, we're just running through this thing, huh? Cause yeah, they ran through it. Like we didn't really get to grieve with her. It was like just moments of grief, Again, another movie. Like, see, we talked about this before in the movie. But sometimes movies have a tendency to overburden the audience with so many traumatic memories back to back to back, so much grief. You know what I mean? Like, and I get it that grief is a part of life. Like, these things are part of life. But, it would be nice to see a film that wasn't so heavy burdened. Like, oh, you lose your son, you lose the man that you were in love with, and you marry another man, he's with you for life, and then he randomly dies. Sorry, Sinai. And then Anjane is like, oh yeah, you always had to stand up for everybody else's fights, but here you are battling cancer and you got to keep that information to yourself. I get how that did her character, her storyline. It was like, oh, of course, she's the one that's fearless, so she's gonna try to battle everything alone. So I understand her character. She didn't go through too much grief, but then Uzo going through the whole, my man's cheating on me and I'm gonna go confront the girl. Sit down somewhere, ma'am. I'm not the first woman your husband cheated on you with, and I won't be the last. Why are you up in my job? But
she was saying she was trying to spare her because she already knew her husband wasn't nothing.
Spare me what? Go home to your man. Okay? Also, let that young girl figure out her problems. That's a whole nother conversation. Because when it comes to something like that, I'm like, you know what? You could go tell the young girl what you got to go tell her. You could be like, woman, tough woman. But the reality is not the woman's, it's the woman's business. It's not the woman's business, yo. That woman is over there. And even though like a woman should have girl code and like not sleep with another woman's husband, also acknowledge the fact that your husband has a vow to you as the wife, not to her, not to just to you, you know? So ain't nothing to talk to the other one about. She don't got no vow with you. You don't need to worry about sparing her. Okay, spare yourself. If you have to confront me about your husband, you should be single.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, but they did try to tell her to be single at the beginning, but she loved that man. That's a good man, Savannah.
We always see that story. And when I see that story, my first thought is be happy. Don't complain. He's always been a cheater. You think he's gonna change in old age? He's just gonna get better. Lazier.
People really think that just because I'm with you, they're not gonna cheat anymore. Like,
what, you think you got something special that other people don't? We all walk around with the same parts.
We all special, but I mean, anybody that special. You know what I'm saying?
Ain't nobody that special. If they was gonna do it, they was gonna do it.
Literally.
Yeah.
But I do feel like they did bring grief up a lot because I feel like to some extent it is part of the quote unquote Black experience. But I feel like at least what I did like about this movie is that they didn't like. I know you said we kind of like glossed over it, but I feel like they didn't want to focus too heavily on the grief in this movie. They wanted to like show like how grief does shape you, but like the more positive attributes of who you are, what really defines you, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what I was kind of getting like at the end with her. Spoiler alert. But like with the end of her getting cancer, we think she's about to die and she doesn't die.
Yeah.
You know, like it's kind of like, okay, this is actually a happy ending.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because when she's about to die and, you know, I'm over here crying and having a moment, and then you see that, you know, the comedic thing of her, the seed dropping on her head and her like waking up like, damn, I can't even die, you know?
Yeah.
That kind of
the drama of that. The drama of it all. It's like when that moment happened, I was like, and this, my friends, is like what it's like to be friends with a water sign. This is a Scorpio. This is a Pisces. This is our crybaby water signs. Let me tell you something. They are going to wail out to the stars and anyone who's listening. Woe is me. The end is near. Everybody listen. This is it. Just for them to be like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not dying. Everything
because
is okay.
Well, I'm saying because I felt like they did, especially the dramatics of her getting to that point. Yeah. I was wrapped up in my emotions. I'm over here again. I was bawling. It was just like overwhelmed. Like, you know, like this is so sad. And to get to that point, low key, it kind of was a relief. Like,
yeah,
I can breathe again. Like, it's not going to end in tragedy, you know. And that's what, again, I like films with hope. So it gives me hope. Like, you know, cancer doesn't have to be the end of you. You know, like this disease that, you know, takes so many of our loved ones and has taken loved ones. It can, you know, be defeated. So
it's true.
I was really happy.
It's true, but Barbara Jean's situation though, like, so we got it. Anjanae, she gets to have a happy ending because she gonna recover, right?
Yeah.
She had us on a ride, and she recovered, and we were all happy about that. But Barbara Jean, she got the short end of the stick. I don't care. You have a son, you get married to somebody who's willing to marry you with a whole white man's baby in your stomach, as black as night.
But people have done that though a lot.
And I know they did, and I know they did. I am the granddaughter of one of those situations. Exactly. I want to be clear. Exactly. Okay? Mm-hmm. I understand. I know. Trust me, I understand. But I just for her to go from I don't have, you know, I'm not gonna run away with my man to now I'm getting married to Lester to now my son is murdered, but she never told chick. Huge problems on this I never told chick part, but then she yelled at him like, I thought you knew. What? But then again, if my best friend was meeting up with my ex-boyfriend at random parks during the day, then I would assume that you knew too. Why wouldn't you know? Obviously, you're so close to the circle. Why wouldn't you know that that's your son? So that was a problem for me. But also, like, Barbara Jean, I just feel like she just went through too much grief. Like, Anjanae, she got to recover from cancer. You know, Uzo, she got to find herself and move to New York. But Barbara Jean's big win is getting back with her white baby daddy that, like, left, who didn't know that she had a baby, but he was kind of like a coward when he left, like, because he was trying to steal money from somebody, like, and then he didn't even kill his brother. So, like, the whole revenge, like, the whole, like, you need to go kill him. That whole revenge scene, it was so there was no revenge. So I mean, like, honestly, like, Barbara Jean, your win is chick.
I mean, that was what
he didn't avenge your son,
but all she wanted was to be loved. And again, I do agree though. Like, I'm not like trying to jump in what you're saying. Lester loves her, but she didn't love Lester back, and It's part of love. You gotta get love. You gotta love somebody back too. You know.
Well,
but literally, I feel like they described that in the movie because Ingenue would say throughout her narration in the movie, she'd be like, Barbara Jean. Sometimes it feels like God was picking on Barbara Jean. Well, I'm just saying all that to say that the whole ordeal with like Barbara Jean getting like the short end of the stick was kind of like, sometimes it just some people in life it just seems like they might be cursed. Like they might just
get the short end. Yeah,
just like, and I mean, and that it just happens. But like having a good solid group of friends like she did, I feel like that shows like that they're supposed to be there to support her essentially.
Yeah, that's true. And it could have been worse. Like she could have ended up with no husband, like at all.
That's true.
She at least had Lester, right? She had two men who cared for her deeply, even though she was raped by her stepfather and abandoned, by her mother.
Yeah,
and,
well, her mother died. Yeah, and her mother was not a good mother from point of view, and her son dying.
But again, the whole point of this film for me was just good storytelling. Because again, it wasn't about a remake of something that already existed. It wasn't off of some based on the original story of these girls who struggled, in Arkansas. But it was definitely more of a good story of solid friendship and bonding and getting through life struggles, no matter what they may have looked like. Cheating, cancer, death. They all managed to get through it together. So it really was a beautiful story. And for the sake of the great storytelling, I'll give the film an 8 out of 10. I do feel like the cast was like all stars, 10 out of 10. I love the people that they use. Even Russell Hornsby. I think he's such a dynamic actor.
Absolutely.
And I just love the diversity in the film. I mean, we still got to see the white people. We got to see us,
Well, again, in stories like this where white people do exist, we're not saying white people don't exist in our lives, but sometimes they aren't the main factor. I mean, sometimes they are, like in Barbara Jean's case, Sanaa Lathan's character, her white husband, but not all the time. Like they're not huge factors. But I would give them. I'm not saying. I'm saying in our lives all the time.
You don't matter. Whitey.
But I will say, I also give it a 8 out of 10. Just because I feel like it's a pretty good feel good movie. But I also do want to say I was also glad that it wasn't about the Supremes, even though that story does need to be told more. There's more to that story, but it was good to hear the Supremes and be like, ooh, the Supremes. Oh, it's not the Supremes. It's some other girls that emulate the Supremes in their real life.
Friend group nickname. We used to have a nickname for our friend group when we were kids.
Did we?
ATD.
There's a lot of trauma attached to that.
There was other names. We had other names too. Like
we also had personal journals that we kept with different friends, and then people started getting upset.
Oh, the good days, the good old days. If I ever find one of those journals, Cameron, all my
I have one, so that's why don't ever try to cross me.
That Pisces, and they be like, "Oh, I'm dying. Look at me. Oh, I got hit by a pine cone. I'm not dying. This ain't the right tree. I can't die under the wrong tree."
I thought that was beautiful though that she didn't have to die.
I'm glad that she didn't have to die, but the drama of it, the drama. Where was this energy? Anyways. Guys, make sure you go check this movie out. It is streaming currently on Hulu. Yes. It has a great cast. A lot of stars from our BMF show, like I said, Russell Hornsby and Katie.
Tati Gabrielle.
No, not Tati Gabrielle. The other one, Katrianda. She was the first light-skinned girl that popped up. She's also in BMF as well. So a lot of these actors are working together. They're making new things. They're making different concepts. So be sure to check it out and support our Black actors so we see more good stories and not just remakes of celebrities, Also, guys, we're streaming on Spotify, podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and, of course, YouTube. So be sure to check us out, like, and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching another episode of the Black Cinema Experience Podcast. Bye.